Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for your contribution. Unfortunately, this video has some technical issues with the camera and I could only record the audio properly. So I hope you enjoy the conversation through audio at least and parts of the video. So thank you again, Jazakallah khair, and forgive me for this quality for this video particularly. And I know you will enjoy it. So Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. How are you doing, Ibrahim?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam. So we met during the Palestinian protest for the marches, and you told me some interesting stories about your trip in Ukraine. I mean, not your trip, rather it was like a rescue mission in Ukraine.
Yes.
Could you, I would like myself to know more about your story, and I want my audience also to know more about like what you do, what's your background, and what were you doing in Ukraine and stuff.
Right.
So let's start with your background.
No problem, but I will leave some details unspoken just for the security issues.
Sure.
And also because of my legal papers.
Sure.
So my rescue mission in Ukraine, it was...
So let's start with your background. Like, tell me about yourself.
Yes. My background is rope access technician, specialized in working at height, and first aid courses on a side, including combat medic, which is just medical course, and just specialized in the areas where there is a lot of conflicts. So it does not make any differences, but it might need, or let's say it's a little bit specialized for people who have more experience in medicals such as like paramedics or nurses and surgeons. So to me, I was just a guy who took courses and
So it's basically you're specialized in medicine, but for emergency purposes. So quick rescue machines kind of thing?
They call it first responder, as usual first aid, and we can say trauma life support. But it was within the beginning, how to say that? So it's just like normal trauma cases. It's not like high-end trauma where you need to give some IVs and drugs and AED and stuff like that. So it's just a basic trauma. It's like someone in a shock, or someone is bleeding massively, or head injuries, or got through hypothermia. So these things are easy to be avoided once you have the proper training. And it's just you need to know what you're doing.
Okay. Interesting.
And also you can call for some help and for assistance, and that would help you more. So even if you don't have enough experience, at least you can call someone, or you can contact someone, or to be in touch with medical officials.
Officials, okay.
The rescue in Ukraine.
No, let's start with your background in the sense like where you're from.
Yes.
And what brought you interest in this particular field?
So my original is Palestinian. I'm from Gaza, and born and raised in Jordan. Most of my family were refugees since 1943. And I spent most of my life in Jordan, but half, if not most of my family right now in Gaza. But with this genocide is happening, probably 30 to over 50 of them has murdered already, if not more. So far I still don't have any news from my tribe.
They're missing.
Oh yes, there's a lot of people missing.
I mean, I'm talking about your own family.
My own family, let's say like 3 or 4 of my family are here in Jordan. I mean, not here in Jordan, Middle East. And the rest is in Gaza. Some of them from Ramallah, but the rest, yes, is in Gaza. So I traveled to Poland in 2021.
And what brought you interest in, from Jordan itself, like this paramedical thing, first aid responder?
I wanted to do that thing, and actually I took one basic life support in Jordan, and that was the only available course to me. So it was, let's say,
Basic life support means like people in case of emergency, like earthquakes or war-torn destinations.
In general, you can respond to any type of event if you have the proper skills, and if the situation allows it. So if you mentioned something about natural disasters or war, these are things are tough even for the soldiers and even for the firefighters, and it requires specific training, and it needs to be yes, you need to have awareness in the situation that you are in. Like if you are in a collapsed building and anything you touch, it could just bring down the whole building on your head and on the casualties. In war, you might be like close to a sniper that's just aiming for people. So situations like that, you need to know exactly what you're doing and take a couple of breaths before you become the second victim. Because this is exactly what we're trying to prevent. Like you're just coming, try to bring out as much casualties as possible without being one of them.
So from childhood, did you have, you said like in Jordan you had one course, and after that what did you study and where did you study?
It was just high school. I did not finish it because I was, let's say, I did not love studying. I took a diploma in middle industries and a couple of years in the field, to the point that one of my friends offered me a job in Poland. And this is the point that I traveled. And that's pretty much it. I was doing some volunteering in Jordan with a non-profit restaurant. Serves meals for the people who does not have money. And you can buy a meal for the price of 2 meals. And these 2 meals will go for the people who does not have money, or the poor, or let's say like students or people who doesn't have like money at this moment. So you don't need to be extremely poor or someone in need. Well, I mean everyone in need, even for the people who have money. They can come by and they can have a meal for free, and then next time they can pay it forward. So that's
it's kind of a charity, but then for
it is a charity. We just take money for donations and to buy the groceries and keep the place running. We don't take any salaries or something. So yes,
you were volunteering there, and then your friend gave you a job here in Poland.
Oh yes. And he used to be my boss when I was in Jordan. The owner of the company I used to work with, and for some reason he decided to move into another country.
And in which year was that?
And well, I finished work with him in 2019.
Okay, so right after COVID, I would believe.
Oh yeah, prior that, and even before, probably 2018-19. I finished work with him, and he traveled to another city and another country, and yes, I was doing some small jobs until he called me and he said, "I have a good opportunity for you, and let's take it."
Okay, so you came here to Poland, and what happened next? Like, did you go to Ukraine immediately, or?
Ukraine stuff happened in 2022, 23, I believe. 22, yes. So it's been like 2 years during the war. I joined lately.
Lately,
yes. Okay. It was before the October.
Okay.
So it was like last year, like a couple of months before October happened. I will not go into the details, but what happened right there, it was just like simply people getting bombed and soldiers needed help. And we were helping them, just clearing them off.
Soldiers or civilians?
Civilians were just evacuated from the cities.
Okay,
and basically,
so already this happened before?
Well, I mean, at some point there might be some civilians are staying there. You know, it's their land and they don't want to leave. So they say, I'd rather like to go out than just leave the country. So yes, they were some civilians. As usual, like non-profit organizations, they go by, they give some food and charities and clothes and stuff.
So you give these necessities to these.
That's also one of our job. But as a combat medic, your job is to help the wounded. Does not matter if it was civilian or soldiers, to take them from the front line or from wherever the place that you're going to respond into some place they call the stabilization point or field hospital. So we're not necessarily needed to be in the battlefield where the bullets are flying and the shrapnels and all that thing. You could, but why risk your life? Mostly we would be in a safer place, and this also depends on the situation.
Okay.
So at any point you would be
informed to leave or evacuate.
Yes,
or like,
yes. And sometimes you just you'll be in the middle of gunfire. So it's.
So is this a private organization that you're working for? Is it like
Yes.
so it's a private?
Mostly private. Unless you want to enlist in some kind
It's
of.
a private
military-
NGO, right?
Private NGO. Yeah.
Private NGO. Okay.
I mean, most of them are private.
Okay. Interesting.
If it was from the government, UNESCO and these places, these organizations, they try to avoid the conflicts as much as possible. They set up, let's say, green zones, like by the governments and by the military, and they initiate their work. But other than that, they'd rather not to put their employees at risk, because most of them will be paid. So it's not like I'm paid organization. You know your risk, and it's up to you if you would go or not. Actually, most of them do it anyways, even like paid organization or non-paid.
So they would go to the combat zones to help the wounded.
Yes, absolutely. If you decided to take that choice, well, you're gonna have to live with it. Otherwise, there's no need to risk yourself in that case. And some people, they don't see a meaning of sacrifice their lives or just go into dangerous areas without getting any benefits. And even if they get any benefits, it's for some people, it's unnecessary. Let's say that.
So depends. Some people go for it. Some people go into these combat zones. Some people refrain from entering into these zones.
Yeah, absolutely.
What motivated you to join Ukraine?
Well, I wanted to help people, and I got the necessary training, and that's the point.
Okay.
And besides, I like helping people from a long time ago, even before I thought about taking any courses.
Do you think there are enough paramedics or the combat? What do you call it? Combat medics, right?
Combat medics?
Do you think there are enough combat medics to go to Ukraine? I mean, there were enough combat medics or not?
There
really?
was a lot.
There were a lot of people. Okay. And mostly from Europe.
I was with a team of a couple of Americans and U.S. Marine Corps. There was a couple of people from UK and from France and Italy, and most of them either Ukrainian coming up to Poland and they take the proper training with the NATO, because combat medic course is from the NATO. You can take it from private sector, but it's mostly around training the soldiers of the NATO alliance on the same training
And you were
procedure.
also trained by the NATO, or you were trained by a private?
Now we can say a private school, but the assessor and the training schedule, it's from the TCC3, which is Tactical Combat Casualty Care. That's the name of the course, which it is provided by, from the American military.
Okay.
And it's mostly international. And usually the medications and the let's say the evacuation procedure and all those things, they make sure they train all the medical responders the same day. So they make sure there is no any confusing or just using a different type of equipment or different type of medications. In this case, you would minimize the altercation of the or you just try to minimize as much as possible any mix-up in medications or any wrong procedure that it could be right from one nation to another. Since we know every country or every place, or let's say hospital, uses different methods. So in this case, we put that in consideration. The NATO decided to make a one training.
Okay, so
Yes.
they cherry-picked which one is the best.
Well, I don't know the procedure, to be honest, but it's completely easy and clear. Okay, well, not easy, but let's say it's clear and understandable
Okay.
for all parties.
Okay,
So
that's
they make
interesting.
sure they do the same thing,
Okay, interesting.
especially in medications and the dosages.
So your team, you were the only Asian, and the rest of them were from European.
We
and all.
have Asians, but as an Arab, yes,
You're the only Arab. Okay.
was.
Interesting. You were
Yeah.
the only. Okay. And how long was your period in Ukraine?
I did not spend more than 2 months,
Okay.
no more.
Was
Because
there
I had
any?
some issues with my papers and I had to go back before they close any borders or anything wrong happens. And
Do you think you would go back if you had the opportunity?
no, I have better opportunity and much, let's say, priority in Palestine, Gaza right now.
So
If
what
there
is?
wasn't war, if there wasn't this, if the genocide is going on in Gaza, I might be considering going back.
To Ukraine?
Yes, yes.
So what is stopping? Who's preventing people to enter Gaza right now? So because I heard like some U.S. doctors did enter into the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, but there are very few.
The very few, yeah.
Yes.
But it's only doctors, medical fields, or is it like?
So
anybody?
far, the priority is for the surgeons and doctors. Nurses and first responders, they are already on the ground. And they could ask for some volunteers, but the problem is not here.
The problem is not the
soon as
people.
no.
Okay,
As soon
it's not
as
the
you
lack of
rescue
people, okay.
Not this case.
Okay.
Like anyone can rescue people from the street. They can just tie one rag or something on a mass bleeding limb, and they can stop the bleed. That's not as hard as it could be. But the problem is afterwards.
The equipment.
So once the equipment, the medications, the surgical equipment, like anything necessary to keep the flow of the medical services going, that's what we don't have.
Okay.
So I tried a couple of times to go and volunteer in Gaza. Right now, it's closed by the order of the Israelis over the government of Jordan and Palestine. Jordan and Egypt.
Egypt. Okay.
So if I need to go to Egypt and to enter Gaza, I need first to talk to the Egyptian government, and the Egyptian government may need to ask the Israeli government.
So the Egyptians have to ask the Israelis.
Yes, and they ask for their permission, and after that they say either yes or say no, and after that the Egyptians would think, or the Jordanians would just consider if it's a good idea, or am I going to cause some havoc over there or whatever.
Once they give permission, right?
Once they give permission, and after that
No, I'm
we
saying
would
like
enter.
once the Israeli army gives permission, or the occupation gives permission to Egypt
Yes.
or Jordan, then they would consider allowing you.
Absolutely,
Okay.
anything that enters Palestine or the occupied Palestine. So to be clear,
Is this only in Gaza Strip, or it's also in the West?
also
the West
in the
Bank?
West Bank. Also.
So they're
So
preventing
last-
anybody.
Last month, maybe 2 months ago, the Jordanian government, they prevented 3 guys, actually 5 years ago, and last month they ruled in their cases to be locked out for God knows how much years, because they were trying
So they
to
imprison
smuggle-
people.
Yeah, they
Okay.
imprisoned them just to try to smuggle some weapons for the resistance in West Bank.
Okay.
So that's the least thing, man. Let alone right now we have thousands of trucks waiting on Rafah border, just waiting to enter Gaza Strip. The Egyptians say it's the Israelis, and the Israelis try to bomb this convoys. The drivers of these trucks, they say, okay, we take the responsibility, and it's our life. Just open the border and we can enter. And if we got bombed, that's the Israelis' problem, not the Egyptians. But somehow I will say it with, this is extremely bad. But the Egyptians are helping the Israelis with this famine.
That is in the Gaza Strip, okay.
Yes.
And what about the Jordan
No,
border?
from the Jordanian border, that's a different story.
Because also the West Bank people are also suffering because they don't have an income, they don't have...
They
I mean,
did not
that's
have it for the last 75 years.
Okay.
So let's not just be focused. I know you're not, but we don't want to focus on the last, God knows how much. Right now it's about a year. Next
right now,
month
what?
would be a year
Yes.
of the genocide.
Yeah.
So before that, there was 75 years. People in West Bank, they were suffering with low incomes, low food quality, and like
There were famine as well, yeah.
well, not as Gaza, but they were in a poor environment for the normal, let's say, for the normal human being to survive. But they were surviving. But mostly the settlers were just attacking their belongings, just stealing houses, and the Israeli government just come by from each time to time. And they
What
shoot
about
people
the
and something.
Palestinian diaspora outside of the Middle East? Weren't they also helping the local community, their families within the West Bank?
Absolutely, but helping like with money and just let's say financial aid or just
Of course, it's going to be a small
humanitarian aid,
portion
that's
rather
nothing.
than a big portion.
This is nothing. We need weapons and we need people to fight. And we need to take the fight back to the Israelis. So what happened actually from the 7th of October, what people does not know what was happening, there was a lot of attacks in Aqsa Mosque, Masjid al-Aqsa. There was a lot of attacks. And
So who
the
were
resistance-
attacking?
The Israelis most of the time. They were either killing people, arresting people, and just
And what was the
causing a lot
cost
of
for
trouble.
the audience? Like, what was the cost? Why were they attacking Al-Aqsa, the holy mosque?
Now, the Israelis, okay, they believe that the Aqsa Mosque, it's actually Jebel al-Haykal in English, is the mountain of
The third temple, I think they want to build the third temple.
the temple of I forgot his name.
Solomon.
Yes, the temple of Solomon. So they believe the temple is underneath the Masjid al-Aqsa, and they need just to bring it up and all
So
that thing.
is it all Israelis or is it the religious fanatics?
No. Mostly, I have to say it. It's just most of them, they just want land. They don't care about religion, and they don't care about that thing. It's been going, a lot of excavations and x-rays and a lot of advanced equipment just to try to look for that temple. There is nothing underneath Aqsa Mosque. Right now they're just building tunnels and they're just putting some like worship in places and all that thing. So there is nothing underneath.
Okay. So why particularly they want to settle in the Middle East? And we also saw that they want to expand, like some of these soldiers had these Greater Israel badge.
Yes.
So why do they want to expand? And what is it for them in the Middle East particularly that they want to have this this thing called country?
Just resources.
So what
if you
resources?
want to look at that from
Well,
like
if it
a
is
higher
resources-
perspective, natural reserve.
So if it is resources, like America was already, using Afghanistan or Iraq. They were exploiting these resources. So why?
America fought Afghanistan just because they knew that they are the most strongest Islamic states, and they were afraid of it. And the last commander of the Pentagon, he said, we did not fight Afghanistan just because of that. We just fought them because we're afraid that Islam would spread. That's the only thing.
So it was about
Iraq,
Islam
they
rather than
want-
resources, you say? Or
There's
both?
Like all respect to the Afghanis, but there isn't much of a resources over there. Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Palestine and Jordan, Syria, and these areas around it, it's full with natural resources, including oil, phosphate.
But even say
all that
Iraq,
thing.
they invaded Iraq. They still have resources, but they don't have a country there. But unlike Israel, like why do they have to create a country in the middle of the Middle East? Like, what is it?
Now, back to the time of the Balfour promise to the Jews with a country in Middle East, they were giving like 2 or 3 other options, included Uganda and north of Canada, I believe, Alaska, or one more place, and Jerusalem.
So it was
Palestine.
Argentina, Uganda, and there was
Argentina, Uganda,
and Palestine as well.
Palestine,
Uganda.
and there was one more, I think.
Argentina,
There was
Uganda, and Palestine. Maybe there's another
3,
one.
3. So I'm not sure about my historical evidences, but yes, Uganda and Palestine, there was like these 100%. So they had the choice, either to take one of these. So they didn't even care if it was either Palestine or even of Uganda or something.
So yeah, particularly even right now, even though they know there's a plausible genocide, at least by the ICJ, the forceful interpretation of creating or defending Israel. My question is, you say it's for natural resources, and I'm asking you, why, if it is natural resources, they would be exploiting like Iraq, they just invade, and there's a particular mentality of expansion here.
Well,
what is this thing called? Because you say the settlers there, they want to take more land. So what is the mentality of expansion? The question is more about expansion. Why do they want to expand and make this whatever greater Israel?
now there was some interviews with the Jews who were thinking about, who was believing that. But actually, there were more to that to be. One of them said that wherever the Israeli or the Jew can go, like that's his land. Like however
So one of
they
these
expand.
rabbis, or was it like one of the
It
far-right
was
ministers?
No, it was one of those. I would say it extremist.
So political position.
No, not in position. Like anyone in Jerusalem, any Jew, you would ask them, and they would say it's a great Israel. So
I think there was this lady,
have the same,
DW covered, Daniela Wich something. DW covered, and I think even CNN covered, like she was repeating these narratives of greater Israel and stuff. So one of this lady, I don't remember her name, but like if I recall, I'll let you know. I think her name is Daniela Wich or something.
I have no idea. To be honest with you, I don't remember Israelis' names because you see what's going on in my country. Like I can barely remember my mirtas.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
she was escalating the situation, like one of those, blocking aid trucks. She was escalating these situations.
You mentioned something earlier about the aid trucks coming from Jordan all the way from West Bank to Gaza.
No, just to West Bank, Mm-hmm.
Well, we will go to that. Even the trucks that are passing from West Bank to the northern entry of Gaza, it's being stopped by the settlers and being destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's almost the same thing as what's happening in the south, whereas the Rafah crossing. But the problem is, like from 15 trucks, like maybe 3 would pass if it does not.
Mm-hmm. I heard
So
like
it's not helping anything.
So I understand the situation. I'm just saying there are these when you say normal people, I find some of these influential people who also push the narrative of the greater Israel. So coming back,
Let me stop you at something. You mentioned something about the greater Israel. Now, think about that, the map.
Yeah.
It says from the river to the sea. From Al-Furat to the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Furat is going all the way down with nice resources, and there's gold underneath the Furat.
Can you explain where is Furat for the audience?
Furat is in Iraq.
Iraq, okay.
Yes.
Euphrates.
Yes.
In
Now,
English.
if you take half of Iraq or most of Iraq, okay, so you will go down also into the Gulf Sea with half of Saudi Arabia also. So the Gulf Sea, it's between the country, okay, Jordan and half of Egypt on the Red Sea down. So you will control what is it called? There is a crossing between Sinai and Egypt. I forgot. What is it?
Sinai,
What is it called?
Yeah, even I forgot. But like the Suez Canal.
Suez. Yes, Suez is a crossing between the north and the south. So from Asia all the way,
Africa.
from Africa, and also going all the way to Europe. That's the crossing that's being controlled by the British when they were like occupying Palestine even before the Israelis started, and that was one of their point for the trade between Europe and India.
Yeah, this is the question.
You were talking about one golden crossing, and from the Gulf Sea and from the Red Sea all the way to Europe. If you control that thing, you can first control the
Marine
trade
route.
and marine movement from China, the people who Israel and America does not like, and also takes a lot of money.
Yeah, of course, there are taxes here.
Jordan is full with resources. The Americans preventing us from excavating it. And 5 years ago, they discovered something called the oil stone, which is somehow alternative for the oil. And once they started digging that thing, the Americans told the government to stop doing that. So it's either they don't want us to do this, or they're preparing for the great.
How do you know that America? How do you know that America prevented? Like, is it over the news in Jordan?
There was a lot of news, but some of the officials tried to black out that news because they didn't want to look bad.
Okay.
Beside who supports Israel and who is the most responsible for all the havoc is going on in the Middle East.
It is the U.S. undeniably,
US.
but like the question is like because people can say it can be a conspiracy theory or not. So was it in the news or not? So just wanted to clarify.
It's been all over the news, and after that they stopped it, and somehow there isn't anything you were talking about, as if it was like a genie, like out of the bottle, poof, just disappeared.
Vanished. Okay.
And also, when Jordanians wanted to sign the agreement with the Israelis over the gas, okay, the Jordanians, all of them, even with the parliament, they said no. But the Ministry of Power, she said that there was paper came from high end, that means from the high level of the Kingdom of Jordan, and they forced us to sign that. So it was already signed before it came to the office, just to put one more signature. So that means there is a lot of pressure right there, and there is a lot of agreements like behind our backs. So, and even
So
the
now,
ground,
what is the results of that?
the results, it's going to be bad, to be honest with you. Because right now our governments are not doing anything good for protecting us against the Israelis who are trying to take our lands also, not the Palestinian land. And they're just equipping their own military with American-made weapons. Now, if we try to take the matters in our own hands, either the Americans are going to use these weapons against us, or if we used it, they will disable it. That means we have nothing to defend ourselves with.
So there's no alternative.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The air defense system in Saudi Arabia and in Jordan, it's all American.
So it's
weapons.
all about controlling from the Euphrates to the marine route in Suez Canal. I think it's basically called the Silk Road as well, because that's where you have what do you call the marine routes. If not, everyone has to go through the Cape Town and then.
Yes, yes. You see the Houthis right now, they're controlling the canal, and everyone is going crazy because they don't want this thing to happen, especially the Americans.
Yeah.
And the Israelis, and like everyone talked about this thing. The existence of Israel is just a big military base for America in Middle East, and that's pretty much all. Nothing
control.
more. So let's say resources, political control also, and just destabilize the countries around.
So would you say that we were never independent?
Never.
We're still under colonization.
After the World War I and after the Ottoman Empire has collapsed, nothing good came out of it.
So the Middle East is still occupied to this day.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. When you're talking about resources, it's not yours. You say it's yours, but it's not. The government is being dictated by people.
Puppet leaders.
They already killed another people, and they already committed genocide and stole another land. And when you try to say something, they will cancel you. So, of course, it's not. And mostly, if we try to take the matter in our own hands, we will be labeled as terrorists or just, let's say, enemy of the public, or we just try to, let's say, destabilize the peace. It's happening. There is no peace in the Middle East. There is no peace. And even in Jordan, there is nothing called peace.
Is it particularly when there is no peace in Middle East, when you say that, do you mean in the Levant region or the entire Middle East?
The entire Middle East, because any country gets any conflict around it or any, let's say, altercations is happening, it's going to be happen upon all of them. It's not only one country. So
give me an example. Like, let's say you have Morocco. What does Morocco or like Oman have to do with the issues in what is happening in
now, mostly the reason of prices. If something happens, there was a dispute between, I think, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and one of these countries left the Gulf Union, and most of the countries that in
the GCC
or something like that, or they boycott one of these countries.
Yeah, OPEC or something.
It's a union within these countries in the Gulf, so they boycott that country, and of course it will affect us. And in Egypt is the same thing. Palestine pretty much is like the most important point over there, and also since the Palestinian oil and the Palestinian gas, it's been excavated and transported to the European Union and to America. Right now, when there is a conflict, there is something called insurance for the resources. It brings up the value of it, or brings it down, or brings up the security of the business, security expenses of this area, of these resources.
And that's why you have like people bombing Yemen and like UK and the US.
This is just to try to talk them away, or try to, let's say,
I mean, it's to protect the marine route.
Yes. But the bombing in Yemen is just to intimidate them and try to let them stop the
blockade. Yeah.
That's the only thing. But
so this has nothing to do with the insurance, which is
the insurance of the gas, of the oil or the gas, that it's been transported to the European Union or to the American territory. It will bring up the price of the gas, and especially during the Ukrainian war. Since right now the Russians stops or trying to reduce the amount of the oil that goes to the European Union, right now they're looking for alternatives, either the Saudis or the Palestinian oil.
Okay.
And any conflict happens even around the oil rigs, which is like a couple of miles away from Gaza shore, it will bring up the cost of
for the European Union
protection. Oh yeah, especially. Yes, that's why they try not to get involved in any type of conflicts, because it will bring up everything. Like when the Ukrainian war started, like the prices went extremely high. Like the rentals,
the Western European countries,
yes. The price of the rentals and the groceries and all those things, well, they went all the way up, as if it was going to finish by one night. So everything depends.
So, a little bit about again yourself. Why? I mean, you have other conflicts going on in the meantime, like what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Congo. Would you or your friends participate? Are there paramedics participating in Sudan or Congo?
Yes, but the blackout of the media, that scares me a lot.
Okay.
I must be honest with you. Like right now, we can feel bad over what's going on in Gaza, and we see the decapitated heads and the limbless people without limbs and all that thing. I mean, we can mourn them why we see what's going on there in Sudan. There's nothing. There's just words. And people, if they get caught,
So why aren't
talking
people?
about that.
Yep, it's because people are not talking about it, or is it people are not posting or updating?
People are not posting. But I don't want to be pessimist. But even in Gaza, people seeing stuff and they're not doing anything except just boycott, which is good. But I must be honest, it's not
Sufficient.
It's not sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not talking about just economy. So the American APAC and the Israelis and all those things, with the help of other countries, they're just sending constantly military aid and anything, not everything that the Israelis want, constantly. If
No,
one
my
country
question
got
would be-
bankrupted, there's like 20 more that they will take its place. So we're not talking about just boycott. Yes, I heard about Pepsi and what's the other one?
Starbucks and
Starbucks is about
McDonald's,
to
yeah.
bankrupt and all that thing. Understand?
So my question would be, my question would be more like, are paramedics going to Sudan and Congo to help these people? Are there enough people going there, or because you said it's scary?
I heard about a couple of organizations working in Sudan already, and they're taking doctors and paramedics and aides, but the media blackout does not show you anything. At least you can know right now what's going on in Gaza. Like anyone in the street, you stop them, they say, yes, there's this and there's that. It's already shining all over the place. But in Sudan, I have no idea. And like I said, it scares me a lot. And it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy.
So would you consider going yourself, or do you think it's way too scary?
Absolutely, man. If you were scared, that's part of the human nature. But you must do something for the Muslims. Like it's part of your belief. Otherwise, it's just praying and fasting and giving charity. That's good, but only for you. And you need to do something for the community.
It becomes a religion of rituals rather than a religion of ethics and morality.
Rituals are rituals. I must be honest with that. And
No, I'm saying if it's all about just fasting and praying, it becomes a religion of rituals rather
well, right
than.
now we're doing that thing. We're just fasting and praying, and we say it's not of our business, and problem is not my problem until it knocks my door. Well, you don't want this problem to knock your door, and just try to avoid it by preventing that from your neighbor before it comes by
Spreads.
to your door, and after that your neighbor that you will ask for help, and he would say it's not my problem, it did not knock my door. So when we're going to be doing the same thing until there is no Islamic nation anymore. If we did not do something right now, there will be no more Arabic countries or no more Islamic countries anymore. It will be just the practice of Islam would be forbidding.
Tajikistan or
Yes,
Uzbekistan.
yes. Some areas in what is that in China? I forgot.
Uyghur.
What is it? Yeah, the
Uyghur, yes.
Yes, these guys are somehow they're forbidden to practice Islam.
Forget about China. I think even Tajikistan, which is a Muslim country.
Not the thing. You're talking about some people, they're being held accountable for just practicing their Islam. Later, in the next 25 years, if we did not do anything, this thing will be in the Middle East. They will be forbidden from practicing Islam. So that's not good. And people does not see it, because right now they're just thinking about eating, sleeping, go to the bathroom and just work, and it's only my business. And just praying for yourself, and between you and yourself and all that thing, degeneracy is just going on, and lots of adultery, married outside, what is that? Sex outside married, drinking and alcohol and drugs and all that thing.
In the Muslim countries.
Part of this. When you introduce this also to the society, add on top of that dealing with interest, lots of gambling, and outside seriouses and doctrines that it's not even related to Islam, it will wire the people's brains just to stick into these things that it's distracting them from looking at what's going on right now. So
I think my question again would rather be with paramedics, for instance. How can they help? Let's talk currently. How can paramedics enter into Sudan and help? Like, is there a lack of paramedics, or like another thing about Muslims? How important are Muslims to engage in combat medics or something like that?
About Sudan, I must be honest, I need to read more, because I have no idea what's going on there. But for the paramedics and for the medical rescuers and let's say medical services in general, hospitals mostly, they send some volunteers
to Sudan or to Palestine?
Yes, either by the government or by non-profit organizations. So you need to look for organizations that works in Sudan or in Palestine or in Syria, because it's also the conflict areas. And you send an email, talk to them, and they would say yes. But either way, if some countries have some strict rules, like Palestine, you would have to talk with the government, and the government will talk to the intelligence, and intelligence, if it was occupied, then it would go to another side.
In Sudan, the situation is like you have the government and you have a paramilitary group organization that wants to overthrow the government, and these paramilitary organization, that is the one who's causing the problem.
They're causing problem, but they're not occupying the government. They're not occupying the whole country.
All the issues in Khartoum is by this organization, and there's a lot of sexual violence is going on. There's a lot of murder, pillaging. So you have,
if those militants are not controlling the government, if they did not overthrow the government and control everything,
but you
would have no idea what they would say.
But you have like so that's why technically you can have paramedicals or combat medics who can enter the country and help. So that's why my question is, like, we don't know much as what is happening in Sudan, and seems like the government is the people are in favor of the government. So what is preventing people to enter into Sudan currently and help? Because unfortunately, I'm not saying Gaza is not important, but Gaza is blocked. But in the meantime, can we help Sudan?
Now, you would need to address the other governments, which is a problem.
Yeah.
These governments and these leaders around Sudan and around Palestine and Iraq, they're not helping. Otherwise, they would just open the borders massively and let people in and help. And either send military convoys with the medical aid and all that thing, protected by them. It will be no problem. But the thing is, they don't want to risk it. And that's completely the thing. It's either it's closed by your country,
or outside forces.
By outside forces. And if you want to get in, that's like, it's obviously they try to get as little as help as possible to these countries, just to keep the wars going. Wars going means lots of industry, including the defense industry, which is
course,
the
they
most
must.
profitable industry in the whole universe. And the US right now, it's making tons of money over that. So if this industry goes, probably the US will crumble. It will bankrupt completely. Actually, they are.
You can never have
$100 billion, if not more, just a debt. And they would need just like 100 or maybe 400 years.
It's nearly impossible to eliminate the entire defense system because it's connected, because it supplies to other countries as well, like Australia and what do you call it, the EU, the Middle East.
It could be, but the
To collapse
defense,
immediately.
Yeah. The defense industry is connected first in the first place with wars, more than just let's say defense agreements and something. Like they've done that with a couple of countries, no problem. They bought weapons. What should we do with them? Right now they're rusted in their own pits. There's no need for them. But they bought them anyways. But the weapons has been used currently in Ukraine and in Palestine. That's a huge business.
So, right now, I think I would ask you about the medical community, the paramedics, the combat medics, or like doctors and nurses. How important are their voices for Palestine?
They're extremely important. If you would just move a whole hospital, just take it off its base, and just throw it in Gaza, it would be extremely nice.
I'm saying because Israel is not allowing, how important, for instance, we have these protests going on from student encampment and stuff. So how important is you have also the boycott campaigns. Countries are asking to sanction Israel. So how important, what can the medical community, I'm asking about your community, what can they do? How important is their voice to be heard for this genocide that's happening? The blockade of surgeries and stuff.
Yes, every voice is matter. If you were talking about this 100,000 in a capital, it's not enough. You need at least 100,000 or millions, 3 millions, 4 millions. Half of the city should be outside just protesting, because they press and they force the government to do something. If you don't want to cross the borders and just take your equipment and just walk all the way to Palestine, which is some people they're afraid of this idea. The only way is just protest, but in mass numbers. If it was 1 or 2 numbers, they would say they're just outside the outlaws or something. But if it was 10 million, well, it would be extremely, extremely tough on the government. You're talking about blockages. You're talking about mass stop of working. That means the whole infrastructure of the country, if the city, if not the country, it will crumble. So that means the government will be on high alert. And anything you want, sir, we will do for you. Just go back to your normal life. That's what we need. If you're talking about city of 6 million people, where there's just 500,000, and this number is too high, to be honest with you. If it was just 1,000 people, 2,000 people, the government would say, let them protest 9-10 days. You see, what's going on right now in Britain and in America, the governments, they started to take extreme precautions right now, where they just command the police just to assault the people, just try to terrorize them and talk them away from doing that. Because if they keep going like this, they will attract more people. More people, that means they don't work and they don't keep the infrastructure running, and they don't do what they're supposed to be doing, which is just eat, sleep, and work. This is not what they want. So, mass numbers. That's
protests.
So far, protest on mass
numbers.
Yes.
And how can because you have different communities representing in protest, you have different flags. I don't want to name them, but can can the medical community stand out and say, hey, as a medical community, we are against this genocide, and we think what Israel is doing is not just a war crime, it's a genocide and it's ethnic cleansing. So can they represent, like, would you ask the medical community to participate in protests as medical ambassadors? Or
No, let's ask the $1 million question, let's say it. Which is it good for medical student or medical rescuer? To be in a protest or to be in the field?
right now they're not allowing you in the field. So
Well, if they
until
press
they allow
more,
it.
they would end up in the field.
Sorry, if they?
If they're pressing more, if the doctors did
that's what-
the protest, and if they stopped working in a hospital, and
I mean,
like,
that's
it's bad.
yeah.
It's insane. But you need to do something, and your government is not listening to you. What's the only way? What's the only thing that you got in your hand? To stop what you're doing in a mass number. They will wake up from their sleep and they would say, no, screw that. We're not letting the hospitals stop working, and we're not letting the doctors just doing whatever they want. But we want them back into the hospital, whatever you need. You need to go to Palestine. We will talk the living hell out of Israel just to let people go in and to let the aid
So
go in.
the essentials are very much needed in the field, in
Absolutely,
protests especially.
man, absolutely.
Firefighters, doctors, nurses,
Yes.
policemen,
Yes,
whoever
yes.
is
As
possible.
much as possible. We need as much people as possible in the streets, protesting and screaming and just like blocking everything. That's the only way. If the government's mostly working on our tax paying, and they're working on the streets that we're keeping it clear, and they're working on the power plants and the infrastructure that we keeping it going.
So as because you're from the medical field, would you ask that? My question is, would you ask the because we're in front of the camera and stuff. So would you ask the paramedic community, the medical community, to go out, to go on a strike, go out and protest,
Absolutely. Man, if this is
make an impact?
right now, you need to make impact.
Yeah.
Even on Instagram, Facebook, or just X or anything, any impact as possible. Like right now, it's not only Palestine and it's not only Sudan. It might be Ukraine right now. There is a lot of need for medical supplies, and there is a need for people to help. So if it was about Palestine and Jordan and Egypt and these countries, okay, it's our countries and it's our religion. We need to defend it, but it wouldn't be just only one of these countries. Could be different, and we need to do the same thing. If you're a paramedic, just go out in the street and just protest. Talk about it every day. Talk with your colleagues. Say, I wish if I would have a chance to go to Egypt and cross to Palestine and help people, because there is a lot of medical aid is waiting.
So
We also
I think
need doctors, and we need officials to get inside
Ukraine.
and to work that thing in Palestine. Right
In Palestine,
now,
okay.
In Ukraine, it's open. The
It's
borders
open.
is open.
So
If you want right now, you can go right now. There's no big deal. You talk with the non-profit organization. You say, I want to participate. Understand the risks. You take some. They call it PTSD prevention and the challenges of the post-traumatic stress disorder in the battlefield. You take this type of courses, so you make sure you don't end up committing suicide of just watching lots of dead people and bombing and all that thing.
So my the other thing, when you said about strikes and stuff, I think when the I think in the I don't remember the year, but like when you had these American what do you call revolution, when America was growing in numbers, you had unions at one point because capitalism was growing out of order. So you had unions. How important are unions for the medical field? Because obviously all these doctors are accountable for their insurance or like the companies that they work for. So how important are unions? You have like Starbucks union. How important is union for medics?
Extremely important, because right now you can think in a group, not in a person. In a person, you would get easy cancelled. In a group, it's much harder, and especially with senior doctors and like high-end medical officials. It's not easy for a hospital to say like, you want to boycott, I will fire you. That's one person. If 75 doctors at once they say we don't like this situation, well, if you fired them, by the time that you would find another doctor, God know how much trauma cases would be waiting, or God know how many people would lose their lives.
So this would make it a bigger impact if you create unions.
Absolutely, and especially in the most sensitive areas in this infrastructures, in all the infrastructures.
So particularly these municipal cities or the biggest big cities.
Cities, the hospitals, the gas stations, the very sensitive things that if it stops, it will crumble the whole city. So these are the ones that I'm focusing on.
So you're calling for a union.
It is dangerous.
Of course, yeah.
But we need to do something.
So you're calling for a unionization for now?
Absolutely.
Create a unionization and then go on for a strike?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because with the union right now, they try to cancel the whole union. So right now they're not focusing on one guy or not trying to destroy someone's life. They try to take out, let's say,
the most important people, yeah.
Or, no. Let's say a structure that it's connected with people. So if you take down the structure, the people were still living.
Yeah.
They will find another structure and they
will build a structure, yeah.
They will build a structure. So if you attack the people, that's...
The individual can scatter, but...
They will scatter. But we need to be brave.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're doing. When you will go into strike, you will go with tear gas. And you are going to be hit by a couple of, officers. Because they just got an order, or either they got, let's say, they got threatened, they would lose their jobs if they did not use maximum force. In America, they done the same thing, or either they hate the protesters, or they just do what they're being told.
Okay. So
Either one of these three. So and beside, together we prevail. If we divided, they will take one out of us until we will be no more. And that's not what communities are all about. If it was just eat, sleep, and stay in your own business and be yourself, I can be myself. But I wouldn't know if my neighbor is sleeping without food, or if he's having a medical emergency. Let's say if I'm
we need to connect, we need to work together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So are you a student yourself, or?
Well, I'm trying to study, and so far I'm just having a little issues with my papers and what to do next. But other than that, yes, I would go and become a paramedic. It would be extremely nice, especially working on ropes and in rope rescue and search and rescue.
So as a student, or going to be a student, what is next? What is next with the student encampment? How can we get more students into the encampment? How can we get more protests from students? Because it's been a year. People are slowly, getting demotivated. So
you need to tell the people that if we're together, either we go down together, okay? And you need not how to say that. The people are getting scared when they're alone, and that's normal. So we need to be together. We need to reunite. Like when you're going into the camp and you tell people we're going to protest, that means we're going to protest.
So how can we increase the numbers?
And if one guy get attacked, we all defend. If someone get suspended, you have to suspend all of us. Like what's going on in America, why the students are winning the war against the government, because they all united. 1 or 3 of them, they got suspended. The whole school stopped stop what they're doing. They say if they're going to be suspended, you're going to have to suspend 3,000 of us. That's the thing. Otherwise, you would just talk to people, come and protest with us, and if anything bad happens, everyone for himself. That means what is the protest is here anyways. Now, what are we doing
Solidarity.
from the beginning? Yes, we need to be.
So how can you increase the numbers?
You need to spread the awareness. Wear a shirt says Palestine, what's happening. So stop the genocide. Bring a Palestinian.
I mean, it's not like
flag.
people are unaware what is happening in Palestine. How to motivate? Like it's how do you say? How to motivate them? Like it is a sacrifice that you need to do.
First, spread the awareness. Second, talk with people about what will happen if we did not do anything. Okay. Third, make the people feel that they're safe even when they're in protest. Like say, I'll get your back no matter what. If someone try to attack you, I will defend you. They will feel safe. The woman will feel safe. Just like the wolves, the strongest are in the back and the strongest are in the front, and the leader are in the back. So they're protecting the elders in the pack while they're working. The women will be inside the protest, and the woman will be surrounded them from outside, protecting them from anything. They will feel safe. The others will feel safe and will say, yes, we're doing something. So it's not only protest free Palestine.
So if
yes.
there is any arrest or anything, it's more to say, hey, we will sacrifice ourselves if you're going to arrest them.
Yes. I don't care if I would just shove the police officer just to stop someone for being arrested. I will get arrested, no problem. I will throw myself into the danger for someone else's
Because they are standing with you, right?
And other people will stand with it. They say, yes, he tried to do something. It might be a little stupid to try to shove an officer from arresting someone, but we are protesting.
We're together.
Okay. I mean, this thing would happen anyways. So, and it's an obvious. You go for protest, government does not like it. They will send the police and they will start throwing tear gas and all that thing. It's obviously. But I will protect the women if there is dangers happening to them. So it's also, we need to consider and we need to have responsibilities. So yes, when you tell students, young students, they have their whole future in front of them, they would say, I'm afraid if I went out with you that I would lose my scholarship. Okay, if you are about to lose the scholarship, we need to call 15 other people, and we go to the dean's office and say, if this guy loses his scholarship, we're going to drop all of our
Have you been in those student encampment? Do you feel that is the atmosphere?
Well, first, I'm not student. I don't know what they're like, how to deal with these situations. But I saw what's going on in America, and I stand with them like 100%. Like even if I'm not student, you know what? Everyone is student. Everyone is learning something. So we need to stand together.
Sure.
The thing is, like, they're from, let's say, from a specific community, or let's say they're all in a group by themselves, and I don't want to be intruder or something like this. I mean, these things are just like normal things.
But the cause is for Palestine.
Of course. Why are we out anyways?
Yeah,
like
that is the most important.
Paramedics, soldiers, firefighters, sheikh from mosque, everyone, even the kids. So we all need to do something.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Ibrahim. Do you have any last message for us or for the people? What is your last message?
First, learn, and don't learn just so you can get a degree and to work with it. Learn so you can spread the awareness, and so you can, let's say, teach this knowledge to others. And use it to help the Muslims and the community in general. Like, even if there's no Muslim need help them. And even if there's, like, it does not matter. Like, you would never stop learning. Second thing, understand what's happening around you. Third thing, do not wait the trouble to get into your door so you can try to solve it. You can help others and you can solve people's problems before this problem evolves into a bigger issue that the community would not have anything, like they would not
They
have
get
any
paralyzed,
power.
yeah.
Yes, they would get paralyzed. Like
So-
if a war spread from one place to another, that's bad.
Yeah.
Like if we have the
Control the wildfire before it spreads, yeah.
absolutely. And you saw the communities when they're bringing up the buckets and helping it and giving it to the firefighters. We just throwing it into the fire. That's the thing. We help each other. And do not be afraid. When you go out and protest, you know that there might be a little risk, but you're going for something. Otherwise, don't go out from the beginning. But this is not discouraging for you or for anyone.
Sacrifice is
Yeah,
needed.
yes,
Without
you
there is a
have to be
cause, then you
brave.
have to sacrifice, yeah.
Otherwise, when would you be brave?
Bravery
When
comes
whole
with
Palestine
sacrifice,
would
yeah.
just go out, or when the problem that it's happening is just go out and you go back to your same life as nothing happens. No, you need also to think about another problem. What if one of your students or one of your colleagues having a problem and let's say they're afraid that they might lose their job or something like this? We need to stand with each
With
other.
them, yes. So, Jazakallah khair,
Allah
Ibrahim.
yasadak, habibi.
Thank you very much, man.
No
Assalamu
problem.
alaikum wa
Wa
rahmatullahi wa
alaikum
barakatuh.
assalam.